Welcome to Senior Basketball Analyst. This is July 5th, 2015, and the free agency market is still hot. We have a lot of important developments to discuss, so we're going to dive right into that. As I said, it's right after Independence Day, so if you hear a lot of loud noises in the background, I can't control that, so please excuse it. People are still setting off fireworks, so we're going to get right into it. My director pointed out to me in our last free agency update, I failed to mention that Brook Lopez signed in Brooklyn, and that was an omission. That was a mistake. That omission was a mistake on my part. But it just goes to show you what Brooklyn is about as a franchise and what Brook Lopez is about as a player. Brook Lopez is rarely healthy when it comes to playing in important games. He managed to play in the playoffs this year and played decent. He played okay. Actually played well. I wouldn't even say played decent. He played well. But Brook Lopez is oft injured. When they had when the current ownership took over the team and they made this, all-in, type of maneuver, signing all these free agents, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, with a lot of fanfare went to sign with Brooklyn. Brook Lopez, had another injury and basically didn't play. And that, ruined everything they were doing. Darren Williams also, again, oft injured, has not really been at star caliber in it at all in his time in Brooklyn. And this is why when we talk about, a player's career, why it's so important to acknowledge the longevity and players that play great well into their 30s and have these long careers of sustained excellence, because it's difficult. A guy like Brook Lopez on a given night can go out there and get you 30 on the block, pick and roll situations, pick and pop. He's a very versatile offensive player. When he feels like rebounding, he can rebound. He chooses not to. And he is an adequate defender. He's so athletic that he protects the rim well. Brook Lopez on a given night can play great, but he doesn't sustain it. He continually gets hurt. He loses concentration and lets lesser players outplay him. Brooklyn was in a tough spot because they already had him, and it would have been tough to explain why you let him go. But I don't think that in the long run they would have been missing anything, because I haven't seen him put together a complete season of great basketball yet. And usually as a player gets along in their career, you see what they are and they don't change that. So, you hope Brook Lopez can not live up to the contract, but just bring the production to Brooklyn that they require of him as being a franchise center. They also re-signed Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young's a good player. He's a good player that earns good money, and that's really all there is to it. Thaddeus Young is one of these guys. He's a kind of a do-it-all 3/4. So anybody can use him. No, there's no team in the league that if they sign Thaddeus Young, he's not going to either start or be a key reserve at both the 3 and the 4 position, especially in this day and age with not a lot of back-to-the-basket fours. Thaddeus Young is a solid defender. He can shoot out to the arc. You don't want him taking a lot of threes, but he has range out to the arc. He can handle the ball. He can pass well enough. So he's a do-it-all guy, and signing Thaddeus Young is never a bad thing. 94 feet, my man, out of Chicago, Patrick Beverly, Mr. 94 feet, re-signed in Houston. That's good to see. It's always good to see a cat. You always have, as a basketball fan, it's always great when a guy like that can have a sustained career. When a guy, this is a guy was passed over coming out of college, was undrafted. A lot of people drafted complete clowns and guys that can't play basketball at all over Patrick Beverly. He goes, to go and play overseas, tear gas grenades shot at him. For real, that really happened. This is a guy that took the hard way to the NBA, and had to earn his spot beating out Jeremy Lin, who at the time was the golden boy. Like, picture the fame that Matthew Dellavedova is getting right now in terms of the movie and all the attention for playing basketball very poorly, but he's getting a lot of attention. Picture that. Remember that the attention he's getting now, multiply that by 10, and that's what was going on with Jeremy Lin at the time. Signs a huge contract to play in Houston. Patrick Beverly showed up in the camp and beat him out. He was on a 10-day or something like that. Like, Patrick Beverly, I don't even think was getting guaranteed money at the time. Patrick Beverly basically is an NBA walk-on. This is a dude that makes it with grit and guts and actual grit, guts, and hustle. That's what Patrick Beverly is about. And it's good to see him getting his money because he's a very, very entertaining guy to watch. In terms of the way he's a guy that's an accurate three-point shooter. He can drive and finish. But mainly he's there to be a pit bull defensively, and it's good to see him sign. Corey Brewer also signed, and I'm not as high on Corey Brewer. Corey Brewer is, I think, an overrated defender. I watch Corey Brewer play, and I watch him get torched. He can get into the passing lanes and create havoc. So it's not like he's a zero defensively. I'm not trying to make that argument. But what I am saying is I see him getting beat defensively routinely. I've watched where he rotated onto multiple guys, where as opposed when you're a top flight defender where you may guard multiple positions throughout the game and multiple players depending on who's hot, I watched them move Corey Brewer trying to find a guy for him to guard, and he kept getting beat. Again, I think that people don't pay close attention to defense in general, so they're not as discerning when they're talking about it. I don't think Corey Brewer overall is a good defender. We'll see. Houston is playing for something, so we'll see how it works out for him. I will tell you what he is, though, is he's a competitor. What I mean by that is Corey Brewer, throughout the playoffs we saw this past year, he would get into the game and he would start making an immediate impact. And in that regard, that his capability to do that is perfect for a bench role. He comes off the bench and he starts playing with a lot of high energy and trying to make plays immediately. And a lot of times he can give your team a boost. And what we really mean by that is it's not some kind of magical thing. It's not some kind of thing like being on fire in NBA Jam or something like that. But what it does is when, let's say James Harden comes out and Corey Brewer is playing the two. Corey Brewer may come in, get a steal and a run-out dunk, may hit a couple threes, and you're getting really high production over a short period of time while your star James Harden is getting a rest. And that's what his real value is. So that's what I mean when I talk about a guy bringing you energy and giving a team a boost off the bench. That's what I mean by that. This is not something that's some kind of magical power pellet or something like that. That's not what it is. Robin Lopez signed a huge deal in New York. And this is obviously Brooke Lopez's twin brother with Sideshow Bob hair. This is the Sideshow Bob guy that can actually function in the NBA, and he's not just a guy with hair like whatever that guy plays in Cleveland. I can't even remember his name off the top of my head at this point. Anderson Varejao, that guy. Anyway, Robin can actually play a little bit. Now, the problem with Robin is the things that he does best, he's not that good at. He can board, but he's not a great rebounder. He can defend okay, but he's not a great defender either. When he has to guard a true back to the basket banger, which there are not that many, I encourage you to stick with us. The next show, that's the NBA. That's our NBA top 4 centers in the NBA this year. So basically, we're doing all NBA first, second, third, and fourth team at the center position. That is a can't miss show. So please tune in for that. But Robin Lopez, when he gets against these rare back to the basket bangers, the Dwight Howards of the world, DeMarcus Cousins, etc., he's mauled. He gets mauled. 2 years ago, he was completely helpless against Dwight Howard. He was horrible. He was horrible. He can't guard him. And for a guy like that, this is a traditional 7-foot aircraft carrier center. when you see a guy like that and he cannot guard when he cannot guard on the block, well, then what is he really adding to the team? So, and this, by the way, I don't know what New York is doing. I don't know what they're doing other than setting themselves up to continue to lose. I don't know what that was with that draft pick that top 5 lottery pick. It's the 4th pick in the draft. They threw it in the garbage. I don't know what that was. I don't know where they're going with signing Robin Lopez, because what can he do for you that Tyson Chandler did not? So I don't really understand where they're going with that. To me, you'd be better served putting the money in your pocket and saving it for someone that can actually help you. I don't think Robin Lopez can help them other than being a body. Sure, as a starting center, he's going to be a lot better than there's another guy. His name's escaping me at the moment. Andrea Bargnani. He's going to be better than that because that guy can't play basketball at all. He just can't play. But I don't know. I don't know how he leads to wins because his skill set is so limited. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Rondo to Sacramento. This is a rent a player, classic rent a player situation. Rondo is setting himself up for free agency next year. For those of you that play fantasy basketball, probably a good idea to pick up Rondo. This year, for Rondo's career, to me, being a guy that has Hall of Fame potential and definitely Hall of Fame basketball IQ, he's a savant out there. He's a brilliant individual. The question is, will he continue to play well and will he continue to be great? And here's the thing. Rondo doesn't need other players' skill to make him better. He doesn't need you. But what I do notice about him is when he does not have the structure around him, he sees it kind of as, well, this team's not going to win, so oh well. And then he just loses focus. And that's no good. And that's not Hall of Fame focus. That's not a Hall of Fame career you're putting together when you play like that. What he did in Dallas was not excusable. He probably had been disrespected by Rick Carlisle, and I'm definitely sensitive to that type of situation. At the same time, you have to play, and you know what? Even your teammates, fine, forget them too. But you have to play for yourself. You have to show pride in your game. And to me, he didn't show pride in his game last year. So I expect him to go and show out this year for his contract. But once he gets the contract he wants and gets a huge deal, for the remainder of his career, I want to see how he closes it out and see if he will play championship caliber basketball again. Because we know he's capable. Question is he going to do it? And with a guy like Rondo, to me, the bar is very high because he set it high. For those of you that for the uninitiated, Rondo used to throw the LeBron James type numbers out there. He could go into a playoff game and get you a triple double with 35 points. Rajon Rondo is a transcendent player, but you have to do it. You have to keep doing it. So we'll see. We'll see. DeAndre Jordan to Dallas. This is just a huge blow to Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is running the team as well as the head coach in terms of running the front office. It is a huge blow. DeAndre Jordan leaves, and the speculation is irrelevant. Chris Paul said this to him. Chris Paul didn't slap 5 with him. Who cares? He left. Him going to Dallas. Dallas makes the upgrade from Tyson Chandler to DeAndre Jordan, basically a younger version of Tyson Chandler. DeAndre Jordan, in this day and age, the way that the center is used, there is none better. The way the center is currently used in offenses. Pick and roll, dive, lob to the rim, weak side block, lob to the rim, rim protector, defends the pick and roll very, very well. And also just defends the paint. And what I mean by defending the paint, he turns your drive angle such that you don't even get a good shot or don't even get a shot attempt. He's a very, very skilled defender, and he worked. And you know what? The thing is, you give Doc a lot of credit for developing the talent because that's so difficult to do in the NBA. Doc Rivers, when he got DeAndre Jordan was just a dude. He was basically JaVale McGee. He was just a dude that jumped high, that could make some plays here and there, but overall didn't help you. Doc Rivers developed him into being a great defender, great rim protector, great rebounder. He motivated him and developed him into that. But then he leaves. This is a disaster for the Clippers. It's a disaster. They went from having championship hopes to now they have no championship hopes. And there's been a couple of little silly tweets going around from Austin Rivers, and yeah, all of that stuff's irrelevant. He's gone now. Now he's going to be playing in a Dallas Mavericks uniform, and man, it's a shame. What might have been for the Clippers has now just gone down the drain. Now they're just going to be a team that's a good team in the West that makes the bottom of the playoffs and is an early exit. And so it goes. You got to keep when you develop your talent, you have to retain that talent. You have to. Tobias Harris re-ups in Orlando, so he gets to spend the next few years getting screamed at by Scott Q Skiles. The Q stands for quitter. And again, anytime I'm criticizing a person, check their record. Check the record of Scott Skiles and the way that he exited the teams he's coached. Quits. He just quits and then takes all the money and walks away. I don't know why more people don't write this about him, but that's the type of individual he is, and he represents himself the way that he wants to be. This is the way that he wants to be seen. That's the kind of guy he is. Tobias Harris is a guy that really you're paying for potential. He's a guy that is a solid small forward in terms of the small forward position is a do-it-all position, as we talked about with Thaddeus Young. He's going to be a guy that can step out on the floor and hit a jump shot, can drive and finish, and play some defense and defend multiple places on the floor. That's what Tobias Harris gives you, but not at that high a level. So this is really them trying to lock him in, and what Orlando is doing, right or wrong, and I think wrong. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think they're ever going to be any good. But they may make the playoffs, but I don't think they're ever going to be a team that's competing for a championship with this core. But the core that they're looking at Victor Oladipo, Elfrid Payton, now Tobias Harris that they locked in and anchored by Nikola Vucevic. I don't like that core. I don't like it at all. I don't like it even projecting it into being what it's supposed to be. I still don't think it's that good, but we'll see. And what will happen, and now I will tell you this, the positives about Scott Skiles. Scott Skiles is going to bring that team together into being a professional organization. He's going to allow them to take the next step. Jacques Vaughn, what you give Jacques Vaughn credit for is it's very easy for a team to go off the rails and stop putting forth effort. And he never let his team do that. He never let his team do that. And this team was not supposed to win games. It is very limited in terms of skill. It's a very limited team. No experience, very little skill on this roster. Jacques Vaughn allowed it to not go off the rails. You get fired in the NBA. That's just the way it is. Scott Skiles, what he does do is he takes these young teams and he can instill a level of professionalism, a playbook, defensive principles. If he wouldn't quit on the teams, he'd actually been a really great hire. But there's going to be a clock on it. You got to watch it. So that's the Orlando Magic. Costa Koufis signed to Sacramento. What can you say about Costa Koufis that hasn't been said about Dan Lange and any other string of busters out there? He's a buster. I don't know where you're going with that at Sacramento. I don't know what the Sacramento Kings are doing now, because here's the thing. Costa Koufis, isn't that going to be your starting center? Because you're running DMC out of town for whatever reason. And when you go to our center video, I'm going to describe to you exactly how stupid all of this is. George Karl, I don't know if he's lost his mind or what, but DeMarcus Cousins is nobody's untradeable, but he's so good, it's hard to get value back for him. Even if you're like, I got to get rid of this guy, get rid of him and get what? So Costa Kufis, though, I'm assuming he's going to be the. I'm assuming they are projecting him as the starter. That sounds like a terrible idea, but whatever. He's tall. Basketball, man, with the just having people run around out there because they're tall is so silly because tall guys routinely are bad. We just saw the Golden State Warriors said, "Well, our tall guys aren't any good. Don't play them." So, and finally, the thing you guys are probably waiting for me to talk about, LaMarcus Aldridge to the Spurs. Honestly, I have less to say about this than most people because it's on its face. There isn't anybody can see what this is. What this is. This is the best power forward in the league going to the best organization in the league. Devastating, devastating. Looking at LaMarcus Aldridge walking into the twilight of his career with a prime Kawhi Leonard is it's devastating for the rest of the league. Greg Popovich is going to put Kawhi Leonard in situations to succeed time and time again. He may even learn a few tips about longevity and winning championships. You know, going deep into playoff runs and taking care of your body from Tim Duncan. You know, again, LaMarcus Aldridge, pros pro, very versatile power forward, can play some five. Uh, I don't like I said, it's apparent. I don't even feel like this is worthy of senior basketball analysis because everybody knows that a lot of people's championship windows slam shut when this happened. We're going to expect the San Antonio Spurs to compete for championships for the rest of the decade now. That's what we're looking at. We're going to watch LaMarcus Aldridge basically go, into his late 30s, being a contender. Greg Popovich is going to put it all together. He's going to have LaMarcus Aldridge on that left block extended, doing his work, and shooters all around him. Great defensive principles, and frankly, the rest of the league can't compete because they don't run their organizations properly. Guys like Lionel Hollins put a system in place and a team together, and you fire them for no reason. Other teams can't compete. They can't compete because Greg Popovich has when teams when they I hate the term system. That's now just a thing people say that to sound like they're giving you some kind of analysis. Well, he has to fit into the system. This is a good system for him. Most organizations don't have a system. You know who does though? The San Antonio Spurs. They actually do. They have a real dedicated NBA D League team. That's an advantage that people don't talk about that they have over other teams. You say, why is that an advantage? Here's the reason. Most NBA teams do not have a dedicated D League team. They share some kind of arrangement with another franchise and they share players on that D League team. So what the Spurs can do is when they send a guy to the Toros, that guy runs the same plays and runs the same plays, does the same type of help and recover schemes defensively that the Spurs use. So when he gets called up, it's the same stuff. And they also can play guys, they can play their players accordingly based on who they want to develop. It's the same way that JV games run in high school, where you have guys on the JV team, and the JV team is coached by the assistant coach, and you're running the same stuff. And you will send guys from the varsity down to JV to get extra run. So they're running it like a MLB style farm system. Most teams don't even have that. So that's a built-in advantage they have that other teams don't have, and basically no one talks about it. You rarely hear that during broadcasts. So the San Antonio Spurs are on another level as a franchise. There's no one else doing what they do. The Clippers, the first organization to even take the first step to doing that is the Clippers by the power and control they gave Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers right now is messing it up. But the rest of the organizations they aren't doing it. They're not playing the same game the Spurs are playing. So going forward, we'll see what happens. It's going to all speak for itself. But in terms of just LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't have a lot to say because he's hands down the best power forward in basketball. He's going to continue to be successful in an organization that doesn't really at this point know anything other than success. So that's the free agent roundup. You know, if you have anybody else you want me to talk about, you know, go to Senior Basektball Analyst and you know, just ask me about it there. This is you know, SBA, and you know that.
Suckers I'm all, they fall and crawl into the pit of purgatory. I go for glory. I'm taking inventory, counting all the tough luck.